You know, I would really love to make music with Brandon Boyd of Incubus, the lead singer of Incubus. Not only because like I really am influenced by his music and everything and like his style of singing and everything, but I definitely I would like to just ask a ton of questions.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. Thanks so much for joining us. All these different episodes with amazing artists from all different genres. Thank you also for asking your friends to subscribe. Your subscriptions, ringing the bell, liking the videos, sharing them with friends. We'll keep bringing you amazing musicians from around the world. And today is no different. Today, coming to us from Connecticut, all right, the band Phatt James, which I have a lot of questions of just where the name Phatt James came from, because if you look at these guys, none of them are FAT. So we're going to get to that. But we have Matt James. We have Matt James, singer. Drummer Chris Wilson. You know we always love messing around with drummers. Drummers have awesome stories, and nobody ever lets them talk because they're always behind the kit. So this will be a lot of fun. Now, if you're a fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe Incubus, you're going to love this band, okay? They're fusing alt rock and pop together to create their own sound, and 2024 has been a massive year for them. They released their first album, Just Begun. They've had a bunch of singles, 7 Days, Ahead of Line, Wide Eyes. So let's get to know them and see what's in store for next for the band. Matt, Chris, welcome to the Hang, guys.
What up?
What's going on? Thank you for having us.
All right, you know, I always start these off, you know, learning about your roots in music, but I got to ask because I don't have it written down. This is all spontaneous. Phatt James, the name. Let's start with that, and then we'll go backwards. Where did the name Phatt James come from?
This might be backwards, but P-H-A-T-T. P-H-A-T-T. Where did it come from? Well, to be honest, let's think. You know, I started a group with some buddies in college, and somewhere along the lines, like, they got a picture of me of when I was in middle school, and I was definitely a little, you know, bigger or whatever. And they started calling me Fat Matt. They started calling me Phatt James. They started calling me Fatty J, whatever. And, you know, we started a band together, and next thing we knew, we needed a name. So, I mean, Phatt James was it. Because I was kind of writing a lot of the music, and honestly, I liked the way that Phatt James was like accompanying like so much. It was like also it was me, but it was also the band. You know what I'm saying? So but it also encompassed like all of our song titles and stuff like that too. I feel like.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I saw your pictures, and I'm like, wait a minute, Skinny James, maybe, and I didn't see any Phatt James. So
that's right.
All right, so guys, let's start at the very beginning. Okay. I'll ask, this is the question. We can flip a coin, see who goes first, but I'm always fascinated how music started for people, right? Like, did it find you or did you find it, right? Everybody's origin story is a little bit different. And what was that spark that ignited in you to have the passion to follow a dream of music? So, you know what, Chris, you haven't spoken yet, but you look like you're about to burst. So give it to me, buddy.
Oh, dude, you don't even know. Okay. Matt, that was a great answer about the name. That was perfect. Okay. Anyway, where I started. So when I was a kid, 4 or 5 years old, I always used to take drives with my dad in the car, and my dad would always play music here and there, you know, radio, cassette tapes. You know, he had like a 99 Honda Civic or something like that. So he had the little cassette deck and everything. So he had a Rush Roll the Bones cassette, and from the beginning, I mean, some of my first memories are sitting in the back seat jamming out to Dreamline, to Roll the Bones, to that whole album. Honestly, it was really only those first two songs that would just make him rewind over and over again. And so that was kind of the kickstart of me kind of getting introduced to music. And then one day, so my dad had this huge CD collection, right, on the wall of his office or whatever. So one day we were going out to the car, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to change it up. Let's like pick a different CD. So I go in there, and it's an entire collection of CDs, all look the same, all the same jackets, and there's one CD that had a white spine to it. And I was like, huh, that's cool. So I pulled it out, and it had a white cover and had a little red dot in the middle, and it said Dream Theater. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. Let's check it out. So my dad's like, that's pretty heavy. I don't know if you'd be into that. And I was like, just put it in. From the first second, changed my life. So Dream Theater is like a progressive metal band. And Mike Portnoy is my biggest inspiration. I have a big Dream Theater tattoo on my chest. So that's where I guess you could say music kind of found me that way, because my dad and my mom too, honestly, we used to listen to Meatloaf in her car. So I was kind of all over the place with that classic rock. And then, so I got into playing on pots and pans, honestly, like in my parents' kitchen. I pulled pots out of the cupboard and everything, and I would put them on the ground. I'd take wooden spoons and bang them around, make a ton of noise. And my parents got tired of hearing pots and pans. And so it worked out that my uncle, my mom's brother, is an event planner and had just done a party with, I don't know, like 10 or 15 drum sets that were set up all over the place. I think it was like a bar mitzvah or something. And he had them in his storage unit that they were just collecting dust. And he's like, come down and pick one out. So I was like, okay. So I'm like 8 years old. I go into this room, and there's just drum sets that I could just pick from. So I picked this like chrome Tama drum set, and you know, it sounded like garbage, but I was like, this is a drum set. This is not pots and pans anymore. So I started there, you know, brought them home, played them every day. My mom and dad got me lessons with this guy, Jim Royal, who is a dear mentor and friend of mine now. I actually teach with him from time to time when he needs me to cover lessons and stuff. So throughout, you know, taking lessons, I played in the school band. I did the marching band and everything like that. I went to so where I met Matt with this whole process, we both went to school at the University of New Hampshire. So I went to school for music there, and I got connected with a couple of guys kind of through the program where, you know, I kind of met them, and they had this kind of jam bandy style of music, and they were looking for a drummer. So I was like, hey, I'll jam with you guys. And I remember the first gig we played, they wanted to play some kind of bluegrassy stuff, and I had never really played like a bluegrass beat. And I remember getting off like a couple of times and getting absolutely ripped apart for doing that. So I played with them for a few years, and through those guys, I met Matt. We played a show together. At the time, they had a different drummer. Phatt James had a different drummer, and we linked up on a show. And I remember watching those guys, being like, "I got to play with them. I gotta play drums for those guys." So their drummer wound up leaving at some point, and I remember I talked to Matt. I pulled him aside, and I was like, "Listen, I don't know what your guys' plans are going forward, but let me get a jam session in one time. Just let me get one jam." And we sat down, and it just worked out great. And, you know, we played a show, and it went really well. And, you know, it was just like, it was a style of music that was closer to what I grew up with. You know, I grew up with very progressive rock, progressive metal, classic rock, even like classical music to an extent, you know. And the jam band stuff was fun. It was definitely fun to play, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. So this was definitely more my speed, you know. Killer vocals, killer guitar parts. You know, they let me kind of go off if I wanted to on some parts and stuff. And then, yeah, it brought me to Phatt James, and then I joined, and that was probably 2017, probably 2016, 2017. And we've been getting after it ever since. Matt and I moved back to Connecticut. We met our bass player on Craigslist. which is the best part of Matty C, I think. As much as we love him, that's the best story of all time. We need to make some t-shirts that just say our bass players from Craigslist. So yeah, that brought us to here, and, you know, COVID shut live music down, and we took, you know, that time to record an album, and it all worked out. So that's my entire full life story. Started to take up like 20 minutes, but
no, dude. Okay. So I got a couple questions before we get on to Matt here.
Yes, of course.
First of all, maybe the T-shirt for your bass player should be "I survived Craigslist."
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Listen, yeah,
because that thing shut down for various reasons, right?
Oh,
so
for sure.
Now I'm really curious because look, Dream Theater, Rush, Prague. You know, I'm a Yes fan, Genesis, Phil Collins, all that stuff.
You and my dad would get along.
Matt, here's the question I have for you before we get in your origin story.
Yeah.
When Chris shows up to the first time to play with you guys, and he brings in a set with 87 toms on it to play what he knew was your music, how did you feel like? Because you can't be a prog rock kind of drummer without having like 90 different toms in your kit.
You know,
how'd you feel about that?
I mean, I'll be honest. I probably don't know that he had those on. I probably didn't know. I'm just gonna be straight up honest. I probably didn't know. Like, honestly, like, not to get too deep, but like, what was most important to me was that he was just like a good person and a good drummer, you know, and that's what he was. So sorry, I don't mean to get all deep about it, but
thanks, dude.
I honestly, I don't even know what 87 toms are. I'm sorry. No,
it's funny.
I'm gonna just be straight up.
No, so when we jammed the first time, I definitely brought a very much a reduced kit to their place. It was like a snare drum, a floor tom, a kick drum, but at home, I had a very much like Brady Bunch style drum set of just everything I ever owned put together on one thing. I had like 8 toms and, you know, 12 cymbals, all of like different brands and all this stuff. So I had it. It just was not making the trip to New Hampshire because they couldn't fit in my car. So and
you had the "I Want to Be Neil Peart" t-shirt.
100%. Rush was my first concert as a kid. I saw them at Jones Beach Theater, amphitheater outside, and from there, I mean, I've seen a couple of shows that have come close to topping that, but I mean, Rush was like the pinnacle, and my parents surprised me there. You know, they drove me down because I had family in Long Island, or I have family in Long Island, and you know, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go hang out with them, this and that," and all of a sudden we pull up to the amphitheater, and I see the Rush sign, and I'm like, "What are we doing?" And they're like, "We're going to see." I was like, "What are you talking about?" So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I listen, I did my best to accommodate what the music called for with those guys, because I knew showing up with a giant drum set was not the answer.
So Matt, how about you? Where did that spark come from? Was music something that came to you, or were you pulled toward music? What happened? Tell me the story.
I think it's kind of a combination of both. I mean, when I think about, there's a few moments in like early on that I think about that were like super powerful in that way. One of them I was thinking about the other day was really, I used to drive up to, when I was in like elementary school and middle school, I would drive up to upstate New York, to the Adirondacks every like weekend with my dad to go up to my grandfather's apple farm and like work on the apple farm, but also to do other things like fishing and hunting. But I remember at one specific time driving up there, these long drives from Connecticut all the way up there, it's like 4 or 5 hours. We always listen to good, you know, music. That's where I first started listening to music. And he didn't really listen to this song, but I think we were just listening on the radio, and it was Collective Soul. It was that song Shine. And like, I don't know, just as a young kid, that riff is just so, you know, dirty. It's awesome. And anyway, as we get to the solo, he was like, I remember him saying to me, "Wouldn't it be cool if you could do that?" You know, and it's like I just remember him saying that to me, and like I was like definitely a huge reason like I was interested in guitar, you know, because you know. I did think it would be cool if I could do that. And yeah, exactly. I haven't learned that guitar line, but that was definitely a huge moment for me. And
we
you know,
did
then
cover
I had,
that.
Did we cover that? Oh yeah, we did cover that. Yeah,
we did cover that.
But I didn't learn like the solo. Anyway, that was a huge moment for me. But you know, I also had some other family members on my mom's side that could play guitar, and you know, I remember the first time I learned a scale on the guitar from one of them when we were on vacation down in South Carolina, and like just the ability to like express myself with these, I don't know, however many notes, whatever it is, just those few notes, I could express myself, and it felt so cool, and I wanted to do that more and learn the whole guitar. And that made me interested in that. And, you know, as time went on, through middle school is when I started learning guitar. And then high school, I just got really into skateboarding. I was like super into skateboarding, didn't really play too much guitar, just did it on the side. And then college came around and I started getting more into guitar again because I didn't really have a skateboarding crew at college when I first got there. So I was kind of just going to, I was going to school, I didn't know anyone, and I just would play my guitar to pass the time, and then that's how I ended up meeting people's like Mark, the first bass player of Fatty, and his brother, the keyboard player, and you know, another drummer and stuff, and then meeting up with Chris in the future. But so basically, just yeah, college was when I started picking up guitar again. Yeah, so it kind of came to me, but I also found it, you know.
Cool. So now I'm just curious because Chris went for music. What did you study?
Oh, me? Yeah, I studied English teaching, and I started out as you know, undeclared or whatever, and then I went to journalism, and I tried journalism for a while, and that was fun, but it was relying on people too much. But then I was just thought to myself, I feel like I could get into teaching, and specifically English. I was interested in language, so it was really fun to take some courses that were all around reading. That's a huge point that I don't ever talk about a lot. I took this one class, American literature, where we would go through and dissect like all this stuff, like annotate to the extreme on like all this stuff. So trying to understand these words and finding the different meanings in the words. So that really helped me lyrically, honestly, to like that class was, even though it was such a tough class, Dr. Wilburn, he was so brutal, but it was worth that because it gave me a lot of lyrical inspiration for sure. And now I work in special ed, you know, I do have a job in special ed, you know, working down here in Connecticut.
Well, no, and that's an interesting path because I'm sure that the interest in journalism and then learning how to teach English and having to take those classes probably helps you as a lyricist. So,
totally.
You know, cool. Now, let me. The band is at a couple of iterations, right? So talk to us a little bit about the evolution of the band, right? The comings and goings, and how did you finally land on this trio you have now, other than besides Craigslist, and why this is the right trio for Phatt James moving forward?
Well, how did we start out, Chris? We started out.
That was before me.
Yeah, you wouldn't know, I guess. No, so back in college, I met these guys. So I'm out there, I'm playing my guitar. I'm meeting some people around the dorm. One of the people I met, his name is Mark. He's still my friend to this day. Still a great bass player and everything. Obviously, he's awesome. But met him, and then we met his brother, and then, you know, I think I was in a band with him and then we started another band, and then I got kind of removed from that band, and I went and did my own thing, and then I kind of started playing music again with him, Mark, and then he was like, oh, I know this drummer, Timmy. So then Timmy came in and started drumming for us. And we did that through college for a little ways. So a couple of years through college. And then when we graduated, we started to part ways. And then Mark and I wanted to keep the band going. So we reached out to Chris because Mark told me about Chris because he knew Chris, better than I did. I think I met you a couple of times at that point, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
But so this is after I graduated. Chris, you're still in school at this point?
Yeah, so that was my senior year after you graduated because you're a year ahead of me. So yeah, when I found out these guys were looking for a drummer, I was like, in, done, sold, give me the part. So that was cool. So that kind of turned into this kind of fast track part of our history because I was so hyped on a lot of their original music from the beginning that I was like, they didn't have stuff out on streaming platforms. It was really kind of like SoundCloud demos and stuff. And I was like, listen, you guys need to get this music out to the people. Like this is really good stuff. So they had to connect with this guy, Trevor Buckingham, who mixed and mastered our first EP, our single, and the album. So everything we've done so far, we've gone through him. And so they got in contact with him, and I was basically just like, let's go down there. He was living in Massachusetts, so it was about an hour from campus. So we're like, let's just go down there a couple of weekends and bang out some parts and let him do the rest, and then we'll kind of come to a conclusion what we want to do with it after. And the EP came together really well, and it was kind of a collection of songs that we were playing out pretty consistently. So all the parts were kind of there, and it was funny. I remember when I recorded those parts at Trevor's place, I was still pretty fresh, new to the band. So I remember getting in there and trying to bang out my parts in like the first day because I was like, these guys know the songs better than me. Let me just lay down the foundation so they can record over it. But luckily, it worked out. I'm proud of the stuff that I put down. But if I could go back, I could throw in some extra little things here and there. But so that came to be with, and that was kind of the core for me, Matt, Mark, and Andrew. Was we played out probably for a good solid year or so, roughly, I think, year to 2 years probably. And we all lived together when I graduated up there. We played a ton of shows in that kind of New England area, Massachusetts, Burlington, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire. We're kind of all over. And then Mark and Andrew, they're twin brothers. They are kind of more of the kind of like country folk style music they like a lot. So they wound up moving to Nashville to kind of pursue their own style of music, which they're still doing now and putting out amazing music. They're really great guys. They're under the name Del Grosso, DELGROSSO, Del Grosso. And they left, and so Matt and I moved out, and we moved back to Connecticut where we were originally from. I lived in Fairfield, Connecticut, and Matt was in Ridgefield, so about 45 minutes away. And so we wound up moving in together in Bridgeport with another friend of ours, and we were kind of without a bass player. This was end of 2018, going into 2019, I think. And we were like, what are we going to do? We don't really know anybody down here musically. Let's kind of figure it out. So I put a feeler out on Craigslist, just, hey, original band, 90s, 2000s rock, pop rock style, Chili Peppers, Incubus, we're looking for a bass player. And we jammed with a guy at my parents' house, because that's kind of like our hub right now, practice space, studio, the whole thing. We jammed with a guy who was probably like, he was almost like pushing 40, and like big guy, nice dude, came in prepared, but just like had a kid and was, not really ready to like go for it. So we're like, thanks, but no thanks kind of thing. And the next guy to come in was Matty C, and he was like 19 or 20 at the time. And same thing, he came in prepared, but like there was an energy that we had as a trio. As soon as like we hit the first note, that was like, all right, this is the guy. And he was playing in another band that had recently broken up. So he was kind of looking for something, you know, a little bit more serious. So we're like, this is perfect. And ever since then, I mean, he's been one of our best friends, brothers kind of thing, you know, and he's stepped up and been a huge part of the band. Cause Matt and I are very easygoing individuals. So sometimes when you put us in a room together, it's hard for us to make a decision on certain things. So Matty C kind of comes in and is like, no, we're going to go this way. But, you know, but it's fun because, like, you know, our jam sessions and everything are very cohesive where, you know, somebody will bring an idea to the table and we run with it. Even if we don't necessarily like it or whatever, we kind of just run with it. So yeah, once Matty C came in, there was kind of an energy shift, as far as kind of the collectiveness of three guys. And we all kind of, like, when we put our heads together, it all came together really well and everything. And, yeah, we've been kind of running with a 3-piece for now because, you know, for me, it's hard to see us give up that camaraderie and potentially bring in somebody who doesn't have that same mentality and could, you know, potentially ruin the energy or whatever, you know, you never know. But for now, I mean, what we've been doing is kind of just layering parts as a 3-piece on the recordings. And then when we go out live, you know, we play it as a 3-piece, but, you know, we do our best to kind of manage. Yeah. And now coming into 2025, you know, we're excited to keep putting out music and, you know, continue the chase, you know?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, is Matty C's, is that Matty Craigslist? Is that like,
Yeah.
So Matty, yeah,
that's great.
That is great, honestly. We never heard that before. That's pretty good. But Matty C, his last name is Christoforo, which is actually even funnier because Matt and I, Chris, right? So Matt, Chris, and then Matt Christoforo. So sometimes we'll put him in the middle of pictures, and Matt will go on his right, and I'll go on his left. So it's Matt, Chris, you know?
That's great. Well, you guys, you know, it sounds like you've congealed pretty well. You got rid of the people who weren't working. You know, you relied on Craigslist. God knows if you need another musician, where you're going to go now because there's no more Craigslist. But you know, it sounds like it congealed really well. And 2024 has been super exciting. Matt, Chris, tell me about the album, the singles. Tell us all about what's been going on this year that's been really made it for you guys.
Well, I mean, most recently what's been going on is, you know, like recording some new songs. We've been recording a new song, and we've also been jamming a lot and with an intention of, you know, kind of writing new songs and everything. And we have quite a few that I'm really excited about that are pretty, they're all definitely in the same style, but it's different than what we've already made. And so that's exciting because I do think it is kind of a new chapter for us. But in terms of what we've done behind us this year, I mean, you know, these music videos have been huge. You know, 7 days music video. I mean, we love putting a visual to our art, you know, like that. That's kind of fun. I don't know. I've always wanted to do that, so I've never really decided not to do that. If we have the opportunity, like, it's awesome. So 7 days doing that video was great, and I'm especially a fan of the Quick to Notice video we just released. I feel like it really was kind of a keystone for all the videos we have out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah,
7 days was the one with the 7 days was the one with the Cupid in it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Shout out to my friend Sean.
So you're working on new music now. Are you going to do another holiday themed song in this new music? Will there be another Valentine's themed song, or maybe something for like Groundhog's Day, maybe you know, 4th of July? You guys getting in that kind of thing?
I mean,
listen, we could run with the holiday themes for sure. I mean, listen, Christmas is in like 2 weeks. We could put out, you know, something. But no, it's been really cool to like Matt said, you know, see these songs come to life visually. You know, because we spent so much time, for a lack of a better term, perfecting these songs in the studio. So to see them kind of in a full form with a video and visuals and like a storyline behind it too, you know, that's not necessarily directly correlated with the lyrics, but also still matches up is really cool. So especially with the 7 days and quick to notice, like Matt said, I mean, it kind of was an idea that spurred, you know, that kind of sprouted, you know, organically just between our photographer and us, and really with Matt, and you know, it just kind of came together in an afternoon. I mean, we were basically just driving around in a car and just showing off kind of our personalities individually and as a group, which is really cool because I feel like we haven't done that yet, you know, visually and you know, as part of a video. So it was really cool to kind of be able to showcase that because, you know, we've run with these storyline ideas for the most part for a lot of our videos that have been amazing. I mean, I'm super hyped with all these, but it was cool to see another side, a more authentic version of who we are as people, that I think is important to show people who are interested in our music that, you know, we're just normal dudes out there who are just kind of hanging out and making music because we love it, and, you know, just hanging out as friends. And I mean, it's very authentic. I mean, literally it was just us driving around in a car, and, you know, the camera guys are just like, do your thing. So we were just hanging out and talking and doing stupid stuff. And, you know, it was a cool experience. So that was definitely cool. And then, you know, on top of that, you know, extra promotion for the album, you know, has been great. And, you know, just to run with that, because that was such a huge project for us. That was such a, you know, I mean, we put it together in about like 2.5 years or so of just, you know, spending 6 nights a week at my parents' house, just recording parts and re-recording parts and, you know, adding things and subtracting things. And, you know, it's just like a ton of different ideas that we played with that ultimately became Just Begun. And I think, you know, between the album cover and the title and the song list and the way the songs are structured as far as, you know, the list of them, it honestly is exactly what I think, personally, exactly what I was looking to do as a part of the group, you know. But I am excited. I mean, this new song that we've been working on is definitely a ripper. I mean, a lot of our songs are a little longer, so this is about like 3.5 minutes of just pure ripping.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: if someone watching who's, you know, checking us out tonight, hanging along with us, hasn't heard the band before, right? And this doesn't have to be one of the singles, but Matt, what song would you want them to go to first on the album to really kind of hone in on who you think the band is and what you want to portray to them? What song should they listen to first?
Oh God, that's a tough one. Oh man, I wish I could phone a friend. No, I would say.
Wait.
Yeah.
Call Chris.
What do you think, Chris? I'm kind of the instinct for me is ahead of line.
That's my instinct. That's the answer.
I don't know why. I feel like it encompasses a lot, you know, but I could also be convinced on a lot of other songs like Wide Eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. First listen. Yeah. Some people, if I knew their taste in music, I would tell them to go listen to Quick to Notice if they're going to listen to the first song. But that doesn't really encompass the whole album. I would say Ahead of Line is a good all-arounder to go listen to first, you know? So,
and I think to piggyback off of that, as someone who grew up listening to songs that are 10, 12, 15, 20 minutes, the title track Just Begun, that's, you know, 8 minutes or so. If you have that kind of attention span, that song, I think, encompasses pretty much every track on the album. Between, you know, Ahead of Line is, you know, similar kind of driving groove versus, you know, like it's just, I think there's a huge overarching kind of storyline / like journey that song takes you on. So for me, like, that's the one that I listen to the most, I think. because of the fact that it takes you so many ways. And plus, you know, we had so many cool moments with that song in the studio that I like relive them every time I hear it, kind of thing, you know? So yeah, I mean, Ahead of Line, I think, is the number one. If you want to show somebody who we are, I think that's the number one track that you got to go to. But I mean, it's funny because like every song on the album, while it encompasses our style, I think every song has a different vibe to it. I mean, you could argue 7 Days too. I mean, 7 Days kind of has a similar vibe, you know, that kind of takes you all over the place. But, you know, I don't know. I think, you know, having our longer style songs, you know, there's ebbs and flows and, you know, different parts of songs that create different emotions and stuff. So I think if you're into songs that kind of take you somewhere, you know, over a period of time individually, not necessarily the entire album. Cause I think that the album, of course, if you go front to back, takes you all over the place. But as a song, I think Ahead of Line is one, 7 Days for sure, and Just Begun, I think, are like the three that I would say personally, if you're going to go check it out. But I have a special place in my heart for Face Print, but that's only because I get to throw in some double kick at the end. So that's just, you know, my metal roots.
Well, so now my question is, with you guys working on new material, Matt, how are you going to deal with the fact that, you know, if on this album you got an 8-minute song and you got a drummer who's so steeped in prog rock, the next thing you know, you're going to have like a 23-minute Supper's Ready. Like, how's that going to land with you keeping the drummer happy?
I mean, hey, you know, yeah. Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, I can't really see myself doing that, but at the same time, I might play a 20-minute song for you, Chris. You're that important to me.
I love you, dude. But here's the thing that I would say as a person. So I don't need a 20-minute song to be a part of. I would love it, but I don't need to be a part of it. What I would love would be more of like My Chemical Romance, Black Parade, like concept album, where each song is like 3 to 4 minutes, but the entire album is basically one long storyline track kind of thing. That's my like real dream, is to be part of like a concept album. Cause I mean, Dream Theater, there's multiple concept albums that I just listen to front to back. So I would love to be a part of something where we kind of take a overarching story and write 8 to 10 songs over the course of, you know, one story, just from front to back, beginning to end kind of thing. That would be the coolest thing for me. But I don't need a 20-minute song, because honestly, I don't need to play that live. I don't need the 20-minute song live. I could just see the people walking out already.
Well, I think we've hit on a couple of things, guys. Number one, we definitely have a Hang exclusive. The drummer has dictated what he wants for the next album, which, you know, normally the drummer doesn't get that much input. And we have Matt, who's now deciding. Chris stated that you know, he's a person, but you know, Matt gets to decide if he's a person or really a drummer, and
exactly.
If they'll go for that 23-minute song or for the entire the entire concept album. So I think there's a lot of potential for you guys, and you heard it here first, everybody. This is either the beginning of the greatest period in Phatt James' career, or I don't know. They could be on their way to an argument that leads to a calamity of errors. But you heard it here first. Let me ask you this, and Matt, I'm going to ask you this first. I'm always fascinated because we always have influences. We always have people who have had impact. So hypothetically speaking, if you had the chance to get in the studio for one day with a musician to create some music together, who would it be? Why?
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Gosh. If I could make music with I'm scanning. You know, I would really love to make music with Brandon Boyd of Incubus, the lead singer of Incubus. Not only because I like I really am influenced by his music and everything, and like his style of singing and everything. But I definitely I would like to just ask a ton of questions, you know, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't want to ask a ton of questions to their idol? But yeah, he would be really cool. And you know, another one, to be honest, this is, you know, I might get some hate for this one, but honestly, I would like to make music and like have a studio session with MGK or like Post Malone or something like that. Oh my gosh. That would honestly be great.
Well, since you picked two, we're just gonna say that the bassist got his selection in. Chris, who would yours who would yours be, Chris?
I mean, if we're trying to write music together, I think I would love to get in the studio with I don't know if this necessarily counts, but I would love to sit down with like Rick Rubin, the producer, and just kind of like pick his brain and do kind of that style. Cause I mean, he's worked with everybody that we were talking about pretty much. Plus he's worked with a lot of guys that I listen to in my own time. I mean, he recorded Slayer and like all this stuff, which is kind of wild, you know? But I read his book, his latest, The Creative Act, I think it's called. And I've like weirdly gotten into philosophy over the last like year, and that book is pretty awesome. If nobody's like checked it out, you should definitely read it. If you're like an artist or even just like a normal person, you kind of like find out a lot about yourself internally as far as like being a creative through that book. So I'd love to talk to him about that. But musically, I mean, I think there's just a lot of bands that I would like to just be a fly in the wall. As a drummer, I would love to sit down next to Mike Portnoy, of course. And, you know, if I could bring Neil Peart back from the dead, you know, I'd love to do that. But, you know, I think there's groups that I would just love to sit in on like a jam session. I mean, I would love to see how the Chili Peppers write. I would love to see how Dream Theater writes. I would love to see, you know, bands like that. Just kind of, I would love to be a fly in the wall. But for sure, I mean, as a go-to, I mean, Mike Portnoy, I'd love to just sit down and jam with him for hours and just, you know, trade back solos and, you know, learn how he writes his grooves and stuff. Cause that dude is, you know, super creative when it comes to writing grooves and stuff. So, I think that would be me, but yeah, I think it would be cool to sit down as a Phatt James collective working with Rick Rubin and be like, hey man, tell us how to do our job, you know?
That would be wild.
Well, I will tell you, crazier things have happened. We've now put it out to the world, right?
Rick.
And you never know who answers the call. We've had episodes where people have shown up in Berlin, driving hours, having to see one of the hangs to see a musician. Just a couple of weeks ago in Dallas, there was a band on, or a musician we had on earlier in the year for Punk Rock Bowling, and Kate Clover and her band were here in Dallas. Guy's standing in the lobby talking to Kate. I'm standing there. He says he saw her on a podcast, and he turns to me and goes, "Wait a minute, you're that guy." So you never know.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Once we put it out there, that's the good part about this. So, guys, as we kind of come to the end of getting to know you a little bit, I'm a big proponent. Everybody out there knows. Go support this band. Go buy their music. They got an album out. It took them 2.5 years. They put blood, sweat, and tears. And Chris's parents had to listen to all that commotion.
Yeah.
While they were creative. If anything, he owns his parents big time.
Big time.
So go out. Don't rent their music. Go to YouTube. Check out a video. Buy the album. Purchase things from them. Purchase merch at shows. Whatever you can do to help support them. That being said, guys, I'm a big believer that it's important that we share. Music and art are for sharing with other people. Some of the greatest art may be something that someone's created and locked away somewhere. But if we can't share it with the world, where's the joy? So, Matt, I'll ask you first. Give me 3 artists that, like, they could be your workout playlist, your you're relaxing and you're just like looking for something to listen to. It could be a local band. It could be a big national act. Who are 3 artists that you're really digging right now and why?
All right. Yeah, I 3 artists that I'm really digging. All right. The first one that comes to mind is this band called Wolf Alice. One of it's a really good band. I saw them a long time ago, but they've got some really good grooving, kind of punky, kind of rock beats, kind of just spacey, it's good. It's good for, let's see, when's the best time to listen to Wolf Alice? Maybe on like a Saturday morning when the sun's coming up. That's a good time to listen to Wolf Alice. Californication is just a constant influence on my life. That album by the Chili Peppers. That's a good late night driving one. And let's see, who else? Yeah, I would have to say, if we go back to Incubus there, you got to go to Morning View. You got to listen to that Morning View album and jam out on that. That's a good all day album.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you can sink your teeth into for sure. Chris, how about what are your 3s?
All right. Well, I got to start off with my top artist of the year according to Apple Music. They took 13 of my top 15 songs. This band called Sleep Token. They're pretty big on the scene right now as far as like hard rock, metal-ish goes. They're like a masked, super anonymous band. And their songwriting and the albums, they have 3 albums out, and every single one of those albums is an 11 out of 10 masterpiece. I can't stop listening to them. I was literally listening to them on my way home tonight. Just impeccable vocals. I think they're from the UK somewhere. But like, I think they got their identities leaked, but like nobody really knows who they are. They just wear these crazy masks and, they go out there. I saw them at Radio City Music Hall in New York, and it was a borderline religious experience. I didn't really know what to expect going in, and it was far and away one of the best concerts I've ever been to, but for sure the most surprising. And like, my jaw was on the floor the entire time. So that could take all 3 spots, honestly, because that's what I've been listening to the most. But man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I'm honest, I've been listening to a ton of classical music lately. When I go to the gym, I sit in the sauna and I just kind of play chess on my phone and listen to classical music. It makes me feel like very distinguished. But I've been listening to a lot of Chopin right now, specifically Piano Concerto No. 1. Sounds super nerdy, but that takes you on a little journey, I'll be honest. And then to kind of mix the 2 together, I guess, I would have to say, I mean, I could go in so many directions, but only because I saw Interstellar in IMAX yesterday. I will have to say Hans Zimmer, just any of his scores for his movies, specifically Inception, Interstellar, Oppenheimer. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oppenheimer is not him, but Christopher Nolan's composer for that movie, that soundtrack, wow. I forget his full name off the top of my head, but I'm a Hans Zimmer guy through and through for sure.
Well, then if you're a Hans Zimmer guy, you gotta, after we get done, you gotta hop on YouTube. We had Yolanda Charles, Hans Zimmer's.
Get out of here!
She's a longtime bass player. Yeah, we had her on the hang. She's incredible, dude.
No way!
Check her out.
I'm immediately.
Yeah, and now she's got this acid. I think the album's called Acid Funk, but it's the PH Project. And she's doing funk, and it's incredible. So she's got a brand new album out. It just landed last Friday. So if you like her bass playing and like versatile musicians who can do a lot of different styles, she's 100%. She's your gal.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for telling me. I'll definitely check that out. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, guys, this has been fantastic and painless. This was easier than Chris going, "Hey Matt, help me lug all this drum gear in from the truck with my 93 toms that I'm going to set up because I'm going to go all Neil Peart on you." So this is a lot easier, I'd say.
Listen, I'm a three-piece guy right now. I'm a three-piece guy. I've dwindled down to nothing because I don't want to load. I want to lug that stuff anyways.
Well, hopefully you guys will keep on this trajectory, and one day you'll have a guy who does that for you. So that's that's the goal, right?
100%.
That's the goal, guys. Matt, Chris, thank you so much for joining us on The Hang. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Like I said, everybody, go out, buy their music. I really enjoyed listening to them preparing for this, and I think they've got a bright future ahead of them. Thanks so much for subscribing. Thanks so much for sharing the videos. Really, we do appreciate it. The channel's growing by leaps and bounds, and we have so many more artists in store in the coming years. So this is going to be a great ride to be on, and you never know who's going to show up. So, guys, thanks so much. It's been great, and the best team will see you soon.
Thank you, Scott.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Legendary.